Having the section placement exactly as we've got it here gives us guidelines in terms of every section that we're going to work with. You'll notice here that top triangle, there is our diagonal guideline. We're going to work through this section on that diagonal, starting at the bottom and working our way up. First section, take a really nice fine section through that hairline. There's often little baby hairs that we need to deal with. If it's not in that section, just move it out of the way so that we're only working with the piece that we need. Again, always before you clip it, make sure your hair is moving in the right direction. Lift it up and take it out of the way and clip it to a place where it's not going to interfere with what it is that you're doing.
And depending on the hairline, would you still take it at a diagonal section if the hairline is going down?
Always work on your diagonal, mirrored off of what you've got in the top. We want to take those hairs that we've got. These ones around the hairline, you'll notice, are a little finer. And what we're going to do with those ones is go in and we'll use a slightly shorter foil in those areas. Do a nice fine weave through that, take it up. Now I have a very different way of doing foil. If you flip the hair up this way, what you'll find is it gives you the ability to get in there nice and tight, and from there we have the perfect opportunity to now go in, load our brush up, put it down. We can secure the foil with the brush. Take our other hands, pop it over the top so that that foil doesn't move, and we can then go and work our way in up to where we need that placement to be. Once you've got product on the foil, it is 100% fine to then let the foil go. The product will glue the foil where it needs to be. Traditionally, there's a lot of board work that is used. If you take your arm and you just tuck your arm in and position yourself next to where your hand needs to be, pop your hand in underneath, rest it on your client's head. There you now have the perfect board that you need, where your foil will not move. Once you've made sure your saturation is good, fold your foil up. And the great thing with this placement is if your foil slips or moves, you have the ability, because your flap is underneath, you can go in, you can re-secure it back down, and then go and lock your foil in place where you need to have it. That's our first foil in. How did you go?
I did pretty good for the first time, only because I usually use a board.
You normally use a board?
Yes.
That's great. And the thing for me is the way that I'm doing it, it's not the right way or the wrong way, it's another way. And for me, if you take out one, maybe two little takeaways that make your life easier from a foiling perspective, for you to be able to work smarter, not harder, that's going to make the world of difference for you as a colorist, and also give you something where you are able to give your client exactly what it is that they're looking for and achieving the results that they need. One key thing when it comes to foiling is always ensure that you have enough product on your foil. If there is not enough product in your foil, you may get uneven lift in your hair. So what you want to always do is make sure that if you do have really long hair that you're working with, that you have the ability of making sure that it's all saturated.
So finer sections would obviously be cleaner in that sense?
They would definitely, and always around the hairline you have that ability of doing a much finer section. Where you start getting through the middle or the interior of the hair, you'll find that those sections generally become a little larger. All we're going to do now is we're going to work up through that section, following our top as a guideline and making sure that we place those foils in even spacings the whole way through.
And with your application, are you feathering the top so you're not getting a harsh line?
What you'll notice is when you go in and you place your product down, always go in and work away from your regrowth or your root area first. Yep. Place your product down and then you can gently work it up. When you get close to the top, a great tip is flip your brush over, because there you now have a point where you can go in and you can gently soften that line so that it's just a lot softer in the top. Always saturate down there and then flip over and blur the line as you go close to the top. What I may do in certain areas is combine a slice and a weave together in one piece, and that sounds really, really weird, but what that's going to do for me is create a very, very soft feel in terms of how that color's been placed. So this is what I was saying when I was talking about combining a slice and a weave together. Yeah. I've now moved back from the hairline, so there's no risk of me putting any color directly on the hairline. I would literally go in and take the first half of that as a slice and then weave the back end. That's going to create a veil of color for me in the front there with a fine weave at the back. The next one that I'll do a very fine weave in the front and a slice at the back, so that I have a weave and a slice falling over each other, and it just creates the most beautiful, soft, lived-in, natural look. So completed the one side, now alternating to the other side and just repeating the exact same process that we've done on the other side, using my hand as a board, getting it underneath, making sure that my hand is resting on my client's forehead, feathering up to take away any demarcation lines, and just ensuring that all of that hair is included in the foil that I need to lighten. Great thing again on those front baby ones, always lift it up, secure it in underneath to make sure that they don't move. We've now completed our two side areas. We're now going to start working on the top section. And if you just pop your head just a little forward for me, this is where a lot of questions get asked with which way do I go? Can I go from this side across, or do I come from that side and go across? Remember, we're always working on a diagonal, and it makes no difference if we're working from that side going through or this side going across. It's going to be on a diagonal either which way. So what that means for us is when Sophie decides to separate her hair and change her part line, we're breaking through on diagonals no matter which way the part line is. So there's no start or stop area at all with regards to this foiling pattern. So as far as summer, your choice goes, you choose whichever way you feel comfortable to go. With my top section, what I'm going to do is I'm going to work from the back towards the front. You'll probably find where you get halfway through, it becomes quite awkward to try and work through. So at that stage, once I've gone through, I'll spin Sophie around and then I'll start from that side and work towards the middle. Always making sure that, especially on very long hair, all of that hair is saturated, especially where there's a fold in the hair and you're taking it back up into the foil. Always make sure that those areas are completely saturated, just so that you can even lift the whole way through. What I'm doing at the back here, because the hair is exceptionally long, is I'm not folding my foil up. I'm literally laying one piece over the other. It just makes life a little easier, and then I just bend the corners in just to secure the two foils together.
With the thickness of the hair, would you change the porosity of the bleach?
The porosity of the bleach, the activator?
Yeah.
100%. Finer hair is going to lift a lot quicker, where you'll find thicker hair may tend to take a little longer, and what it'll also do is throw a little bit more warmth. So working through and ascertaining as you're going, and that's the key part in terms of doing a consultation. It gives us that ability to go in and see what we're working with and make the correct choices when it comes to our product selection from the get-go, so we achieve the result that we're looking for. But you can shake your activators up and do a whole lot of different things. Depending on where you're working, the look you're trying to achieve. You'll notice as well is in certain areas I'm not going right the way up to the root. The reference pictures that Sophie so kindly showed us had a slightly deeper area, so we're going to create the illusion of a shadow at the root area. So I'm going to go in and do a little bit of a bruise out on the roots to bring it all together and create that really, really beautiful, rich, golden, luxurious blonde. One of the things you'll find is clients don't like gold as a general rule, and the reason for that is they've had gold by accident once, and gold by accident is absolutely horrendous. Gold on purpose is beautiful. So I'm super glad that in our consultation today we identified that Sophie's wanting to go with something on the luxurious side of things, and you'll notice I just changed the way that I speak about color. If I use the word golden blonde, if my clients ever had a bad experience and ended up with gold by accident, they'll be pretty scared with regards to what's to come. If I say a luxurious blonde, that's going to give us the ability to create that beautiful result that the client is looking for without putting any fear into them.
And would you lift your client's hair depending on what they're looking for? So if they did want a golden look, would you lift the gold and the warmth out of the hair?
That is a great question, Summer. What you'll find is often we push the hair too far in terms of what it is we're looking for. If in the consultation you find your client is looking for a golden result or a beautiful luxurious blonde, there's no need to lift it too light. You can literally just take it to where you need to be and work with and enhance those golden tones that you've created. Alternatively, if they are looking for a slightly cooler tone, then lift it to the desired result and then counteract. So in the simplest terms and form, when you have a look at the world of color, you're either going to utilize or you're going to neutralize. And if we are looking for those beautiful golden tones, let's utilize what that hair is going to throw. And we always throw beautiful warm underlying pigments the lighter we go, so we can just refine those pigments and give that beautiful lived-in golden blonde result without having to overlighten and then try and color back, because that technically puts us in the world of color correction, which is something we'll address in the next module. All right, now that we've completed our top section, we move into our last and final section, which is our fringe area. Now this one is plagued with its own little bit of controversy in terms of which way do we do your fringe area. What I would predominantly ask my client at this stage is, how would you normally part your hair? Is it always in the middle part, or is it to the side, or do you change it up? Because the thing for me is, if the client is always doing it in the middle part, it's 100% fine for us to follow that as our diagonal and work our way through, or alternatively that way through. If the client always specifically wears it in a section where she would normally part, and what we've noticed here is Sophie has a couple of cowlicks. So these very, very fine baby ones here around the front, I'm going to leave those out, because remember, we're going to put a little bit of a shadow in there, and because of where that hair is naturally going to part, in the consultation before we saw it, the part line is always just slightly off to the left based on where those two cowlicks are. Can you see them?
Yeah.
So at this stage here, I'm going to isolate it in that side, because that's normally where Sophie wears her hair, and there's my diagonal guideline, and I'm just going to work my way through. Yeah. And look how that marries straight up to your hairline. So I'm going to put a couple of foils in that one, and then I'll do exactly the same on that side, through in there, and then we're done.
Awesome. So if they part their hair different every day,
yep,
would you still do that placement?
In terms of this one where we're going to split it in the middle,
yeah,
you could if you wanted to, or alternatively, if they tend to wear it more to the one side.
Yeah.
Remember, you want veils of color falling through, so do your diagonal, start on the opposite side to the way that they would normally wear it. On the hairline, I'll always go in and do some really fine baby lights, or very, very fine weaves. We don't want to create too much lightness around the hairline, because that hair generally is a little more on the fragile side of things. So just going in and doing some really fine work around there will help us create the color that we need, where at the same time giving us maximum integrity on the hair. Going in and feathering it up so we get it really nice and close to the root, and keeping a really nice natural growth pattern. So what we've done is we've now completed all of our placement within those sections. We've done our two sides going on diagonals up. We've done our top piece going diagonal across from back towards the front. And then we've isolated our fringe area, and we've done two separate sections going in. You'll notice up here at the top, I've left two little pieces out on the top of my fringe. And the great thing for me there is I've got blonde here, I've got blonde on top. Those two will now suddenly start popping, and you can see where those are going to fall. It's a low light that's going to give us a bit of face frame in between. And what that does is, by coloring less, it gives you the ability to make your slightly darker pieces pop a little bit more. The last thing I do is, just from a client comfort perspective, while we're sitting processing, just make it as comfortable as possible for your model, sitting there, by clipping out any flyaways or anything out of the way, and making your model as comfortable as possible. Perfect. Thank you so much. Let's have a look at yours. How are you going?
So she's not done.
She's not done? What have you still got left to do?
Just this side, and just
one little piece on there?
Yeah, one little piece on there.
Your foil is beautiful, super neat. You don't have too many in, which is absolutely incredible. And your fringe, you've split the fringe and worked in exactly the same pieces. That's great. The awesome thing that I cannot wait to see is the difference between what a sliced placement versus a foil placement does in terms of using stitches and slices. I did chuck a couple of slices in just for a bit of pop and a bit of boldness in color, and we'll see exactly where those are once they're finished processing.